Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm your host, Ian Carlos Crawford, and today I have three guests with me. Ashley could not make this recording today. She will be back next week co-hosting alongside Stephanie Williams because it will be the first episode of Slayerfest 98 without me, and I have entrusted the two of them because I know they'll be fine. So I have three wonderful guests with me. First up, I have senior reporter and producer at Decider.com.
Hello, Brett White. What's up? That's me.
Hi, Brett. And we have voiceover actor and my Twitter husband,
Justin Fraction. Hey, everyone.
Hi, Justin. And freelance writer.
Hi, Laura Sirikul.
I think, and I don't know if we'll all agree, I do think this fourth episode was maybe the best so far of the series. What do you all think? Brett, you got screeners up to 4, right? That's what they sent the screeners out for? Yeah. Oh, and you did too, Laura?
Yeah, I had to write it for work.
You're both fucking fancy.
No, I thought this was, I think the first episode is maybe the best first episode of any Marvel show, aside from WandaVision, but that is like, that's its own beast. But I do think like that first episode was very, very good. And I think this one is probably my second favorite. But when you watch all 4 of them back to back, like I did with the screeners, I don't recommend it. It becomes too much of a blur. And by this episode, I was just like, I'm so tired. I have to watch all these fast because Disney doesn't give you the screeners for long.
Mm-hmm. Are they limited? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, there's
Usually.
a time limit.
I think I've talked to you about this, but I've never the only time I got a screener was for New Mutants because I was interviewing Blue Hunt for Logo, and I didn't realize that like how intense that shit is. Like it was like my name watermarked over the screen for the whole time.
Well, it also detracts from the viewing experience, I think. Because I mean, like both this and Hawkeye, I had kind of lukewarm reactions to after I binged all the screeners. And then when people saw the episodes and were like, oh, this was fun, it was great, I was like, oh yeah, I guess it actually is fun. Something about like having your name floating in the middle of the action scenes just really takes you out of it.
Justin, you and I did not get screeners. How have you felt about the series and what do you think about this episode in general?
I feel bad because I think the acting is excellent. I was not really an Oscar Isaac fan before all this, but now I am. Right. I feel like everybody's acting in a much better show than it really is, but this episode was excellent.
Yeah.
Insofar as the past few are concerned.
Yeah. I think you had tweeted this, and I might have even mentioned it in the last episode, how like the thing I needed them to get rid of was like the back and forth where like everyone's having a back and forth, but no one's talking about what's going on. Just fucking like, I was glad that they weren't fighting anymore. I mean, they fought a little bit, but it was like, okay, cool. They are working together. Like,
oh my gosh. Yeah, I'll bring that up later when we get to that. I have an issue with that. Yeah.
But Laura, I'm curious, what have you felt about the series? I know you had watched up to this point earlier, but
I like similar to Brett, like it was a lot overload if you watch it all 4 at the same time. Like I had to because like the time. And plus, I wanted to get a full realization of it, so I watched all 4, and it's a lot. It especially like I did read the comics because I had to to understand it a little bit. And you know, even after reading the comics, I'm kind of like, I don't know the show that well, and it just didn't like my brain couldn't wrap around the concept of it. But the acting, I agree with Justin. I feel like the actors are just so good, and there's just not. The Mandarin was horrible in that third episode, but second episode. But anyway, but it felt the acting was so good. The actors are so good. The acting is so good. But it's just I feel like it's the storyline. You don't know too much about this character in the storyline to care.
Yeah.
And I only care because I love the actors and the characters. The actors. But I'm not as excited as I was when I initially watched it. Because when I watched it, I was like, the first episode, I was like, this is the best episode. Like, oh my God, I can't wait. And then it kind of was like, oh, I feel like you need to know so much within the next 3 episodes. including this one with the hippo and everything. And you have to know so much, and I feel like it that distract me. And like the good thing is I did do the research, but it's like at the same time, if I didn't, I would be like so lost in this series. And so yeah, but I love the actors. They're doing such a great job. I'm not like feeling it as I have done with the other ones because of my connection to it.
That's totally fair. Brett, how have you felt about it?
I mean, I think it's interesting that like this is the very first Disney Plus show that is like brand new. Like, this isn't a character from the movies. This isn't, supporting characters from the movies. This isn't a concept from the movies. And there are almost no MCU references, period. Like there's a passing mention of Madripoor in episode 3. And there's a global repatriation, whatever council ad in episode 2. That's it. So it does feel like this just isn't a Marvel show, which I think for someone like me, like I like the references. Like if they would joke about like, oh yeah, we could go over there, but Mysterio destroyed that, a couple weeks ago, like because he's in London. Mysterio was just there. I don't know, like so, but I don't know. That doesn't make good television or good storytelling. But just as a Marvel fan, I do kind of like that stuff. And also, it's kind of the what I also like about Marvel stuff is how true they are to the comics, and this isn't, and not in a bad way, because again, like Moon Knight is a character that very few people are precious about.
Right.
But it is interesting that they have taken him out of New York. They've changed who Stephen Grant is. They haven't introduced Jake Lockley yet. Marlene is now Layla. There's no Frenchie. There's no Crawley's a silent street. Like, and again, these are all characters I didn't know who they were 6 months ago before I did all my research. but it is weird. I mean, it's kind of like with Shang-Chi, where they just like completely were like, we'll take one aspect of his origin and then everything else is totally brand new. But I feel like Shang-Chi did a better job of creating interesting stuff around it, whereas I don't know, like Moon Knight I'm enjoying, but I'm almost like still waiting for Moon Knight to show up weirdly. Like it doesn't feel like he's in the show, even though he's like 3 or 4 different characters in the show.
I actually could totally see that, shit, who did I talk about it with today that they said like, it just feels like Moon Knight's not even in it. Like, was there a complaint? And I do kind of get that complaint because he's not. Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. A thing I was doing last week in the recording, I kept being like, pop quiz, why are they doing this? Because I feel like we have lost the plot a little bit. Where they're doing like the Mandalorian thing, but it's not quite working. Where it's like, you need to go on a quest and find this. And like, I still couldn't really tell you 100% like what the stakes 100% are, aside from like Harrow's gonna wake up this god who's like clearly not good.
Yeah, there's too much. Like they had to find the sarcophagus, to find the map, to get to the tomb, to find the Ashubti or whatever. Like there's a lot. It's just a lot of like kind of video game style, like, the princess is in another castle kind of thing.
Yes. And that's been like a little driving me nuts. But Laura, as you mentioned before recording, it was a good choice. If you have to have like one actor holding a series, it was a good choice to pick.
Isaacs,
right?
Yeah, like I feel like, like especially if you don't know this character, like you don't have the like origin. The fact that you need to have a strong actor, and 2, one that's loved by so many people. Because like I think there's like people like me who will watch Oscar Isaac just eat a carrot all day on TV. And I would, and he would do an amazing job eating that carrot. But like, I feel like, it's great that they got him and Ethan Hawke too. They got 2 legendary, like great actors. Oh, Ethan Hawke's a legendary. They got 2 great actors to portray these main characters, the villain and the hero. Because I feel like if you got anyone else, people would just be like, okay, because the story isn't the story isn't drawing me in as much as the actors are drawing me in. The who's in the series that are drawing in. And so I feel like if you were to have, some and I always appreciate unknowns being like getting there, or lesser known actors to get the big roles, and I really want them to. But I feel like for these kinds of characters who we don't know much about, it should be a bigger name. Shang-Chi, I knew, like, I think a lot of people knew because it's the first Asian character. But then I feel like with this, no, Moonlight wasn't like is not it really. He's not in any. You have to really know the comics to understand Moon Knight. And so I feel like it's great that we have Oscar Isaac as the lead, and he's also a great actor. So I feel like he makes me interested in Steven and Mark. So I'm glad that he's around because it draws me in. It drew me in, and he's the reason I'm staying in too.
Yeah, and I do think they're getting there, because like last week did have the adventure part, especially like half of this episode too, is like they're doing like horror light, mummy light, and I do appreciate that. I just there's been like something missing, and I can't really put my finger on it. And I almost think maybe it's that we don't have more of a cast. I don't know. Justin, what do you think?
Okay, like I grew up watching those movies like Indiana Jones and Romancing the Stone and Vibes, and that's sort of what I thought of when you mentioned them traveling around from place to place on their adventure. But I think at times it should be bigger, like this last episode. I didn't hate the episode; I loved it, but there were points where I'm like, okay, you can do a little bit more here. And also Oscar Isaac. I realized this episode that he's good because I like Mark and I hate Steven.
Yeah.
So much. He annoys me. And I'm like, how does that happen?
Yeah, and like he definitely does a good job. I think Steven is just more dynamic, right? Wait, you said you love Steven but hate Mark, right?
Oh, I like Mark. I don't like Steven's kind of whiny to me. Because they do this thing where that happens later on in the episode where they shouldn't be hesitating to do certain things, but then they do.
Yes.
Like with Layla finding out that information about, her father. Number one, she trusted Arthur. And number two, they're trying to save the world. But first, I'm going to hold everybody up while I ask you questions about. Yeah. Like that annoys me to no end. It really does.
And it really is like, that's funny. When that was happening, Justin, I literally wrote in my notes, I hate when anything, like, I hate this plot point in any show or movie where it's like, wow, we need to like hurry up and do this thing, but I'm going to pause and we're going to talk about like this thing the villain told me because I'm going to trust the villain. Like, it feels like, hey, maybe you talk about that later.
Like, I'm not going to act like I wouldn't do the same thing, though. I mean, but I would appreciate Layla being a little more petty about it, just coming back like, oh, no, I'm glad you got that. Also, you killed my dad, but we'll talk about that later. Like, really just like, put a pin in that motherfucker. Like, that would be fun. I mean, I'm the idiot that sides with Star-Lord in Infinity War, because if I found out that Thanos had killed my husband, I also would lose my shit. So,
Brad, I was thinking that, but I didn't want to throw you under the bus. I was like, I do remember.
I will own it. That entire movie is people making the choice to either destroy a stone or like say Doctor Strange should have just destroyed the time stone. This is a whole other movie. It's a whole other discussion. But it isn't just Star-Lord. Literally every single Avenger could have stopped it. Why is it all on Star-Lord? Anyway.
We could argue. That's a whole nother pod.
Yes. But okay, so we'll get into the episode before we talk about Star-Lord too much. So we open on Khonshu being placed on the shelf with like all the other imprisoned gods.
It's like the god return rack at like a Walmart or whatever. It's like the go backs or whatever.
See, I was gonna say that very much reminded me of Indiana Jones. It's like, ooh, all these artifacts.
The collection.
Yeah. Then we cut to like Layla trying to wake up Mark / Steven. And I will say this, I loved. She is a very good character for how little we've gotten of her. Like, I enjoy her. And I appreciate, and I've said this before about her, oftentimes in the MCU, especially if it's a woman and they're like not the superhero, they like are pretty useless, right? Like, they can't fight, they can't hold their own, or they get there eventually, like Pepper Potts did eventually. But But I like that right from the start, she's like very much capable. Like her first scene at the end of it, she was like out a window, right?
Yeah.
And I liked this, that she like, you know, she wasn't being like overly she wasn't being like overly sentimental. Like she was trying to get him up and then was like, all right, I gotta leave him so I can fight these guys, and like hid in the truck so she could throw a fucking flare on it and blow it up.
She kind of is an interesting middle ground because, like you said, there's either like the Jane Foster style love interests, or there are the like Peggy Carter, incredibly competent, can
Yeah.
you know, just kill anyone. And what I like about Layla, she's very much kind of a realistic, believable version of like an Indiana Jones type. Like she isn't a great fighter, but she's a good scrapper and she's like quick on her feet. You know, later on when she's fighting that like mummy, I just love how like intense it was for
Yeah.
her. It was really great. So I yeah, I mean, she's honestly the lead of this episode.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, Laura, what do you think about Layla?
I love her. I love seeing a woman of color. And you know, in this leading role. And also I love that, you know, she is scrappy and she's a survivor, and you know, and her roots are her father, you know, going with him to these digs and everything. And I just love how human she is, because like there's no superpowers. She's just as a normal person, and like she's tired after fighting. She's actually showing like she's like
Yeah.
oh, I'm like tired. Like she's not just like, okay, get back up, I'm gonna go. She's like
Right.
sitting there. She's like, oh, I need to rest because I'm a real person who just fought a effing mummy. So
And it was just one mummy too. It's kind of like what the Uruk-hai on Buffy, where it's like, man, that one took them a long time, but then
Yeah, later
when
it's like
there's
there's
a whole
100.
bunch of them, it's like, oh, now they're just regular vampires. I like that they treat one mummy with the weight it deserved.
Yeah, she's just like, she goes like, I'm tired. I'm gonna sit and like rest here while that creepy guy talks to me. But that's what I really like about her, because like they don't make her into like she gets back up. Like there's so many shows and movies that they struggle in this fight, and it's like it's over, and it's like and they get up and they move on like nothing happened. And with her, she's just like sitting there like, oh. I need to sit, like that's how I am. I'm like, if I go running, I'm like, I need to sit here for like 5 hours and then get up. And like, yeah, and I love that about her. And she's just smart, and like she's a regular person worthy of being the successor, and that's what I like about her.
Yes, yeah, she really is. And that's like unlikely. Like, I don't know. Like one could think like, oh, Concha was just fucking with him, but like he wasn't. She very much would make sense as the Avatar, right? Like she would. And I like that about her. And I like that she's also like, she's a little hard, but she's not like too hard. Where like, because like for a while, also like if the women could fight, they were all Black Widow, right? Where they were just very more stoic. And I like that she is crushing on Steven, because Steven is like so unlike Mark and is like this like tender soft boy. And like it makes sense for this like badass survivor to like kind of crush on like the like tender boy who's anxious, right? Like,
I mean, also he looks like Oscar Isaac, so
Right.
I feel like no matter what.
That's the thing that I keep, like, I was rewatching it, it's just like, yeah, he's this weirdo nerd who works at a, you know, museum, but it's like, he looks like Oscar Isaac. And I'm trying to like think of all the like people I've ever met in my life who kind of have that Stephen Grant personality where they're very just like, man, you don't have it together. I can't talk to you for too long, because if I stay around too long, you're going to keep me there for an hour kind of vibe. They never look like Oscar Isaac, and I really do wonder what that would be like.
It is the most unbelievable thing of this whole series for me. Of all of it, the hippo could be real, whatever. It's the most unrealistic thing for Oscar Isaac Steven to say, I never had a girlfriend. I'm like, F you.
Yeah, I can honestly say that, no, you're right. We never do look like Oscar Isaac.
I do wonder how long Stephen Grant has existed, though. Like, those are the questions I'm wanting answers for. Is, you know, is he, you know, because Layla never knew that he existed. So for a long time, Stephen wasn't around, or was only popping up sporadically. So hopefully we'll get that next episode, because I'm sure next episode is an origin episode.
I have a very stupid thing to bring up, which I've been thinking about this a lot. So one of my favorite high shows to watch is American Dad. It's very fucking stupid. I'm not going to pretend it's like this great show. It's like Family Guy. If Family Guy weren't cruel, and like it's just like stupid. And I don't know if any of you have ever watched it. Probably not. Yeah. There's an alien named Roger, and he has like a bajillion personas, and that's always a joke where they're like, "You're a real estate agent? How'd you have time to do that?" And he'll just like make a stupid comment, and it's never explained. And his personas are like doctors, real estate agents. There's an assassin. Like one like was like he was playing a wife who was like in a coma, and he had been in a coma for years, and like they're like, "What?" Yeah, and so like I keep thinking of that with this because I'm like, all right, if Layla had no idea, but they were married, how did he end up like there with this fake accent working at him? Like he has a job. And I just always imagine him being like, ha ha ha, and just like making a joke and never explaining how he did both. But yeah, so this episode, and I don't mean this in a bad way, it almost felt longer because it has like two separate, almost three separate parts, right? It's Layla in the beginning here, then they like travel to the site, then they go in the tomb, and then it's the fake whatever institution. But I don't know, Justin, what did you think of like the fact that it had that many? Did that bother you for this episode?
This is going to sound terrible. I forgive a lot because Oscar Isaac is in this. But here's the thing. Once it got to that part where they switched and everything got all, I'm like, you know what? More Oscar Isaac. Now there's two. It's great. It's fine. I rolled with it. And then I realized that's a story from the comics. And so it's nice that they're doing that and bringing that in, something like that in. But yeah, it didn't bother me.
Yeah. Yeah. And Brett, what did you think?
Now, I think what I liked about it was like, when they do the switch at the end to the psych ward, you look at the running time. It's like, oh, there's still 16 minutes left. Now, 8 of that is commercials or credits, I'm sure. But I just very much appreciated that they gave us a meaty helping of this paradigm shift instead of doing the thing where it's like he wakes up in the hospital and it's like, wait till next week. Like,
right.
So it felt. It was a nice coda where I was just like, what is happening? Which I appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Ian,
yeah.
Doesn't this remind you of like the Buffy episode?
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God.
Like, I've been waiting for you to bring it up.
I was going to bring it up when we got there because, Laura, have you ever watched Buffy? I don't know.
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I watched it growing up.
Because whenever I have people that are, whenever I have people that I mostly have on for Marvel episodes, I'm always like referencing Buffy, and I'm like, is this just like, oh God, this idiot's bringing up Buffy again. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. That's what I'm always. But so yeah, in season 6, there's an episode called Normal again, and I mean, I guess it's kind of a trope, but it felt very influential. It felt like very much that episode.
It's a trope.
Like, yeah.
I've seen it multiple times. Yeah.
But so I almost wish that we could have had a shortened, I don't know. I feel like we could have had a whole episode in that tomb and it would have been cool. Because I was surprised that like, you know, the mummy was, I liked that it was like kind of gross looking. It wasn't just like wrapped in whatever and like making silly noises. It was like, you know, making creepy horror movie clicky tongue poppy noises and like, it was murdering that man who was like the fake cop on that table. Yeah. Like, Justin, what were you gonna say?
Like that, the mummy, like she broke off the hand in the arm, and then it was stabbing her trying to get with the bone. Like, like they really went all in with that. Like, okay, now it freaks me out. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I love that. Like, they still, when Steven like throws the table and he's like, I squished it. Oh, I squished it, and is like freaking out. But then we get her on the ledge, and I actually like did find that creepy, where like. Like we see the hand first and then it pulls her into the shadow. And I also like that we still immediately see that she has fight in her because she's like pulling back out and it's pulling her back. And she like rolls over and throws them both off the cliff. That was pretty badass, I thought.
Yeah.
Like I could have done with an episode of like hijinks like that.
I mean, in some ways that's what I signed up for. Like it made me realize how much the Indiana Jones DuckTales of it all, which
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure parts of it definitely don't age well because it's a bunch of white people telling stories about raiding
Right.
tombs in Egypt, which isn't good. But yeah, it's like a genre you don't really see much anymore, so it's fun to see.
Yeah. Also, the shots were really nice. Like I really like
yeah.
the shots that they had, like the way that the angles and everything, and the mummy taking her back into the shadows. I was like, whoa, that was a really good shot. Like when they killed her and then it comes back out. I really enjoyed the way that it was shot. This whole episode was shot though. Like they did a really great job in making it feel like an adventure. Very Indiana Jones style, of course, but also like just like different from what I feel for anime for Marvel like Marvel Studios. It's very I like this is the thing that makes it kind of different for me. Like pulls it differently for me. So I really like that aspect of it.
Yeah, and it's weird, right? Because I agreed with everyone, and like in the start, it's like it still feels like there's something missing. So it's not like my favorite, but I do really appreciate that they are doing something so different, like you said, Laura. Like even if it doesn't end up being one of my favorites, I still like do appreciate how different it is and how we're like doing a mummy adventure, right? In a tomb. Like there's not like that's not a Marvel movie where it's not like they're not, shooting, energy beams or whatever. It's just like, oh, these are two people.
There's still 2 more episodes.
True. True. We did say that about WandaVision, and then the final episode it was,
shoot, zoom, zoom.
But so after she, gets rid of that mummy, I did hate the Arthur Harrow of it all. And I do feel like Arthur Harrow, while Ethan Hawke is great, and we get to see him like do some range in this episode, Arthur Harrow still just feels like, oh, he's just a dude that wants to do something bad, like the rest of the like human Marvel villains. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and what I haven't seen anyone really talking about is that his scheme is Winter Soldier. Like that was the exact same villain scheme, and it's a villain scheme we've like seen. It's Minority Report. It's right. And so I don't know. Like it's still like a really interesting moral, quandary, etc. But when you've seen it done so many times, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that again. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
we're doing that. Cool.
Yeah, because like it was too quickly that suddenly everyone was part of his cult, right? And it was like, well, this feels like Hydra, like again. I don't know, and I do agree with you, Brett. Though I know that we are probably in the minority, but I do like the references. Like I don't like that feels very comic booky to me, so I do like it when it's like they're just like if they did say, oh well, Mysterio, did this, like that's what they do in the comic book. So I do like that shit. But I could see where it would be a positive for someone like else to be like, yes, I like that they're not making all these comic booky things. But I do pop quiz, Justin. How did he know where to go in that maze?
Because of the Eye of Horus that they drew.
How did he know that's what it was?
Because Steven knew, and I guess he figured it out from them walking there. And they're like, oh, there's 6 sides. Oh, this got to be that. And then he drew it, and he's like, okay, we'll go here first.
All right.
I feel like Steven is like represented, like if you read the comics too, but like Steven is representative of the geeky side of like the knowledgeable side of Mark, because Mark is the brawn, and I feel like Steven, because he's never had a girlfriend before. Oh no, he stays home and reads books all day and everything, and so I feel like he's super knowledgeable and he knows his stuff, and that makes him useful. And because like if you didn't know, then it's like, what is the scared guy personality? What's the purpose of him? And so they made him like the brains, and then Mark is the bronze. And so I feel like Steven kind of, there's a whole purpose for him. He knows all his stuff. Like he knows he knows he needs to he knows everything about the like Egyptian and all the history stuff. So I feel like he kind of knew, like, when just being in there.
All right. And then follow-up question, Laura. How did he know it was Alexander the Great?
Because I think he said it has to be a pharaoh. And then he said some other stuff that made sense, that he knew it was Alexander.
Yeah.
He said some stuff that it made sense. I was like, oh, because like he's Cleopatra's son, and I think Caesar and I forgot all the history shit. But anyway, but he did mention it. Well, how he knows it's Alexander the Great.
Oh, and also because like Alexander the Great is unaccounted for. We actually haven't ever found his tomb, and so since he was finding a pharaoh that's never been found before, I don't know, like process of elimination. How many have we found? All the pharaohs? Have we caught them all?
Yeah, and if he knows his shit, then I feel like he would know, like just by looking at the etchings and all that stuff. Like, because like I think he mentioned it. He knew it was Alexander the Great. Anyway, I think you need to like I feel like people need to know like history stuff too. So that's why I was like, okay, I need to look this up.
The hieroglyphics on the tomb were Macedonian.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's who Alexander the Great was. And that would be different from everyone else of the period. So he guessed it was Alexander because of that.
All right. I'm willing to buy that.
Well, I watched it like 2 hours ago.
We a little bit like blow past some of that sometimes. And I'm like, right, I'm at it. But also I am a dum-dum with ADD. So like, it's very possible I just didn't pay attention right.
It's hard to pay attention when you have Oscar Isaac in your face.
It just is. Hot people like being cool. I'm just like, this is great. I did love him in the tomb though. I liked that Stephen was the one who found it. And like, even I forgot to mention this, but when they first, we need to talk about this. When they're first going to the tomb and him and Layla kiss, I liked that we had a perfectly cut scream. I'm a big fan of when he punches himself and he starts screaming, but then we cut. Like, I'm a big fan of, isn't there like a Twitter account? It's like perfectly cut screams. Like, I love that shit. Always makes me laugh. But so the thing I love about Steven is he gets down there and he's immediately nervous and scared, right? Because he can't, Layla's the only one that can fight. And I love what he says. I wrote this down. If they sprang to life right now and asked me a riddle for passage, I'd be thrilled. I'd shit myself, but I'd be thrilled. Like, I love that. Because like, I feel that, right? Like, I'm a fucking nerd. I also can't fight. So I would be like, oh, this is cool, but also I'm scared. And I just like that that's like consistent with him. Like, when he sees Alexander the Great and he's like, oh my God. And he like figures it out pretty like early on what it is. He's just very excited yet scared. And he portrays that really well.
Also not shy at all about being like, oh, okay, this, 1,000-year-old mummy, I need to take off the face bandages, rip off his jaw and stick my hand down his throat. And I was like, wow, okay, you jumped right in there. Had to.
Like, can we go back to that kiss though? I really appreciated the kiss looking really awkward in the beginning because I love that it's, like there's Mark who's like suave and he's gonna get it, but then Steven was like, I think my mouth goes here, and I moved towards, and I was just like, I really appreciated that they did that.
Yes, and like because I was annoyed when a Mark is like. Also, he passes by a lot of mirrors. But like when he's in that tent and Mark's like, you like her, don't you? Blah, blah, blah. Don't you dare touch her, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, everyone relax. You're still the same person. I don't know. And like you said, Laura, he still asks her, like Mark is hot. And then even if he's a geek, he still looks like that. So like, all right, even though he can't like fight, he's still hot.
Yeah, she's like, you smell like him, which makes sense.
Right.
I'm glad she said that. She goes, like, but it makes sense because you're still him. I'm like, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. And like, I feel like sometimes forget that. It's like, yeah, it would make sense that he looks and smells exactly like him because it's the same person. So we get, he does put his hand down the mummy's throat. And I do like that shit. How like, what does he say? Like, I'm sorry, Mr. Great. Like, I thought that was very charming. But then we get Layla coming in and, Justin, what is the annoying thing that she does?
Well, first she believed the villain.
Right.
And that's pretty stupid. And then second, she holds them up from running out of the room when they should be leaving. She wants to have a conversation about her life.
Right. Brett, do you have a rebuttal to defend?
Well, I mean, did Arthur say something like, well, I mean, he doesn't tell her so much as he's like, what do you think happened? And then she's like,
Right.
he killed, like, doesn't he kind of like lead her there? So it kind of like implies that she's kind of maybe known this. She's always had the inklings, and maybe he just like, nudged her in that direction, maybe. And yeah, I mean, it is ridiculous that she's not like, we can do a walk and talk, man. Like, because she knows, she literally just saw the bad guy, so she knows they're in there too, as well as like killer mummies. So they could,
as well as killer mummies.
Yeah, they could get out. Yeah, as opposed to like party mummies who just want to party, the killer kind.
So he picks up that cool gold axe, and then he does let Steven take over, which that's the shit I like. I like them like being like, yes, Steven, you are more adept at figuring out, what the fuck is in this tomb. Mark, you are more adept at kicking the shit out of people. So let's do this.
That really burns my biscuits. That's one of the reasons why I hate Steven, because there have been so many times, especially recently, even in this episode, where he should have just let Mark take over, but no. Like, they can switch back and forth. Like, why are you holding on?
I love that you said burn my biscuits. That's my favorite thing to say. It's like to hear. Actually, I don't say it. I hear it, and I love it. Anyway, but yeah, Mark. Well, Steven just is scared to be stuck in that thing. I'm not. Right. I'm like the biggest Steven defender. He doesn't want to be trapped again because he knows he's going to be back in there, and he's going to be like, it's so lonely. I'm just like, oh, baby. Like, it's like I want to protect him. I mean, even though it's dumb and he should protect himself by having Mark, but at the same time, I know he doesn't want to go back in there because he'll be stuck there, like because Mark wants is more dominant.
Yeah. So he tells Layla to run. He does kill like 3 of those dudes. I was like surprised at. Well,
he also does come clean. Like, he does not waste time in being like, yes, I was there when, I didn't kill him. I tried to stop him. Then I got shot and then I was reborn. Like, okay, you got it. So I also like that. Like, they didn't draw out that. Well, I guess they kind of drew out that mystery because they introduced it last episode and then as in this episode, but at least that's now settled and we can keep dealing with it however they're going to.
Right. Yeah.
And and that's very much Moon Knight origin stuff, and it confirms a lot of this shit. Layla is actually Marlene Alroon, who is Moon Knight's love interest in the comics, who's very much doesn't have anything to do in the comics. Like, she's just the blonde woman that lives in Moon Knight's mansion, and yeah, that's
God. That's what I want my life to be.
Yeah, there you go.
I want that life, guys. I want Oscar Isaac come home.
I just get to like sit in a nice mansion all day. That sounds great. I can do this. Yeah. I can do this podcast still. But so he kills 3 of the guys, and then Arthur Harrow shoots him twice. And I know, Laura, you mentioned how this episode shot really well. I thought that scene looked really cool when he's like falling back into that pool of water that we don't really know what it is, and then he just like, it's like as he's falling, then we go up close to his face and we see the water like engulfing him. I thought that looked
do y'all remember that petition from like, I don't know, 10 years ago that was like, petition like, let us drink the sarcophagus juice?
Oh my god.
Someone like they found it went viral of like some tomb. They opened it up and it had like this fermented looking like blood red juice in it, and so someone started a petition like, let us drink the tomb juice or something. And I don't know, I always found that hilarious, and so and I think about it way too much for some reason. And so when he was falling back in that tomb juice, I was just like, oh, let him drink the tomb juice.
It's so weird to hear that. It's just so weird. I feel so disturbed hearing that.
Tomb juice.
But also, like, that's honestly like more so than Hera or Amit or anything else. I'm like, the gun wounds going into whatever bacteria is in that 1,000-year-old stagnant.
Yeah,
that's the trip. That's why he's freaking out.
That's true, because that water would be like disgusting.
Oh my god.
Also, probably would be like thick, not like just like looking like water. Then we get this like weird TV show interlude. Brett, do you want to break down the weird TV show that we get?
Well, no, it goes to full black, and then like a little flashlight, pops up, and then as it comes up on, we see that it's a 4:3 aspect ratio. I always loved aspect ratios as storytelling signposts. And there's also like a VHS rasterization, like film grain over it, so you can tell that it's like supposed to be an old VHS tape. And then it is the kind of TV show that you would watch on UPN at like 4 p.m. on Saturdays. Is the kind of vibe that Tomb Buster is. And this is the first indication of it's like the first inkling of an explanation we have as to why Stephen Grant talks the way he does, because the lead of the show is a British ex-venturer named Stephen Grant. And so it's,
right.
I don't know, it seems very implied to me that like, okay, yeah, this is definitely Oscar Isaac's idea of what Stephen Grant's idea of what an English accent sounds like. So that explains the weird Dick Van Dyke-ness of it all. And it's also, it's a really interesting, what? Go for it. It's your show.
Wait, but okay, it's fine. I do have a question though, because that's what I was thinking when I was watching it. I was like, oh, but this is all not real. So I
mean, we don't, I think that it's definitely not corporeally real. Right. It is definitely like an influence. Well, we don't know that actually. It could. There's a small chance it could be real. But I do think I would assume. I don't think the Stephen Grant persona is definitely a thing that Mark subconsciously created, is what I assume. And so it does make sense that he would kind of create a version of his childhood hero and not make him heroic for some reason.
Well, right. That does make, that kind of makes sense. But I was just thinking of it in but this is fake. So that is just some silly thing. Cause everyone we see in this institution is a character we saw earlier, but we've only had 4 episodes of the show. And there have not been a lot of I think I only recognized the boss from the museum, the woman with the blonde hair, Donna, and then Arthur Harrow, until I read your synopsis, Brett.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, the 2 orderlies are the 2 cops from the other episode.
In the comic books, they are the orderlies in the mental institution hallucination that Mark has. So yeah, and then there's just the entire sequence is just filled with nothing but Easter eggs to the previous 3 or 4 episodes. Everything, cupcakes, goldfish, the cane, the sandals, the Alps painting. It's really, really in depth.
Yeah. And there's a woman drawing Khonshu. And Justin, remind me, I might be incorrect. Was it you that really liked Legion? I remember one of my friends.
I was going to bring up Legion as soon as you gave me an in.
Reminded me of Legion.
Go ahead, Justin. Take the floor.
No, it reminds me of the first episode of Legion a little bit in that, it's a very... Wait. Wasn't there a part of when Arthur Harrow was talking, Dr. Harrow, he mentions that this is the psychic realm or something like that? Or that he implies that it's not necessarily...
Wait, really?
He says something about we all of our perception is not real, but it's psychically real, or he says something really weird. And then the example he uses is, now a pen is a writing utensil to me, but a chew toy for a dog. Both are correct. And it's okay, that makes a lot more sense than the way you described it beforehand, where it sounded like you were admitting that this is all a hallucination. So I don't know, man.
It was very Legion-y, is what.
Yeah, because I think I watched the first season of that show, but I was thinking of both. Literally, my notes say this is all very Buffy, Normal Again, and Legion. Because in Legion, wasn't the set very pure white?
No, was it? No. It was orange.
It was very 70s, right? 60s, 70s.
Yeah, shaggy. Yeah.
I thought the institution was, but I kept thinking of both those things. I liked this all. I liked, I just wish that there could have been, I don't know how it would have paid off better with all the references, because it's we haven't had that much time, and all right, a fucking cupcake. It was just the stupid truck he was driving. Like it wasn't, it wasn't like a big deal. So like I even missed that until I read your piece, Brett. But I did like it. I enjoyed this. I found the Arthur Harrow scene. I was like, oh look, they're giving Ethan Hawke more to do. But I found it was like, all right, just go away. Like get away from him. We know what is going on. But so then he runs away and he like hides in a room and then he finds a sarcophagus. And I loved when he finds it's Mark that finds Steven, right? Yeah. Mark finds Steven. I loved them hugging each other. Like that made me very happy.
It was really sweet because it was like they've been adversarial. They were hella adversarial just earlier in this episode. But then, waking up in a strange land and finding this other half, and it was really sweet. And also, do y'all know that Oscar Isaac's real brother was the stand-in for the other one? Whenever he was playing Steven, his real brother was on set playing Mark, and then vice versa.
Does he have it's not a twin, right? Or
no.
Okay.
But it's just like he just wanted his brother there.
Oh, that's funny.
Really
that's
cute.
Funny. That's like another Buffy as how when Xander splits in two, and it's actually his brother, his twin brother, playing the other Xander. Yeah. I always like when like shows can do that. So then this all felt like very Legion with how like trippy it was. Like when he's in the hallway, they pass by another sarcophagus where someone seems to be banging on it. I was hoping they would get to the other personality. I really thought so. Because it feels like we only have 2 episodes left. Like, don't we need to like get everything in order for like the end?
Yeah.
And then Laura, who do they encounter after they're running away?
Oh my god, they encounter Tarawet, a hippo goddess. Like they mentioned her in the first episode when he was organizing the merchandise. It was like a little hippo doll, and she's like the protector of women and children and childbirth or something like that. But yeah, that was weird. That was really weird for me. Because for me, I love like watching this whole scene. I was just like, oh man, there is a lot of like Easter eggs. There were so many Easter eggs, from throughout the thing that can make it look like the Legion kind of style. Like I really love that aspect. And the other personality is stuck in and the thing is like I feel like we know it's another personality, but I feel like when my friend was watching it, she goes, I don't get it. So because she just watched the series, so she doesn't know that there's a third personality. And so like for me, I was just like, oh, I feel like they're gonna showcase the third personality at the very end, where like so they could get you to want to have another season or something, or watch it, because it'll be like, hello, like Jake will just show up at the end, another personality. But because I don't think they have time to really showcase within the 2 episodes of to showcase everything. But that hippo, that like I don't know what to expect from after this episode. Like I honestly, after she's like hi and they all scream, I was just like, I don't know where this is going to go now. Like I honestly have no idea, because it feels like it felt like it just transitioned to Legion to me, where it's like I just have to let it happen for me. Like, like I'm trying to think too much. Like I just have to embrace that chaos. But I'm just like I was just like, okay, I'm getting it. I'm looking at the Easter eggs, and then she showed up at the end. I was just like, oh, I don't know what the F is going on, but okay.
And just. How do we say the hippopotamus's name again?
Tarawet.
Okay, because I read your piece, Brett, and I was like, oh, I don't know how to say that name. I got to look that up. And I will say, Twitter has not been that active about Moon Knight. And then literally that hippopotamus appearing was spoiled for me the moment I opened Twitter Wednesday morning. And I assumed she was going to be in like the whole episode. I was like, God damn it. That's one exciting thing that happened on this show.
We're always waiting for that cute thing. That Baby Yoda effect.
Yeah.
Got worse.
I mean, the hippo is cute though. I kind of want a doll now.
Right? Yeah. I'm like, give me a
doll.
Brett, I hope they make a Marvel Legend. I feel like she would be a good Build-A-Figure.
Oh yeah,
right. I like that she was kind of dressed like. Oh, I know, Jesus. I like that she, in my notes, because I didn't know who she was when she appeared, I just put like, and a giant figure enters through the doorway. It is a hippopotamus dressed as Cleopatra. Cute. Like, that's what my notes say about her. And I like that.
Like, I went from being scared a few minutes before,
Right.
whenever with the mummy, and then I started cracking up as soon as I don't know why I laughed. I'm like, ha, 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 because I was not expecting that at all. Not even.
I think I'm hoping this will be alligator Loki, because with the horns and the alligator, and it looks realistic and stuff, and this hippo looks realistic too. So, and with the whole dressing on it, so I feel like yeah, I feel like it's not trying to be Baby Yoda. I feel like it's trying to be alligator Loki.
I can see that. I can see that. I also like that she had a soft voice too. I like she didn't have this like big booming god voice. She was just like, hi. Like,
hi, y'all.
Yeah, like very like sweet sounding. And I again, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was like, almost not like mad in a mad. Like, I was just like, man, now I really do want more. Like that weird cliffhanger, like definitely. And I keep saying this, I do feel like this is a show that would benefit from a binge. But I mean, it left me wanting more. And I remember everyone who got screeners saying that episode 4 was like the crazy episode. And I definitely didn't expect it to be this crazy. Brett, a rebuttal?
I mean, it feels like it could have. No, I mean, like, yeah, it feels like it should have been the end of episode 3 in a way, because it seems like the show is now getting started, and it's like there's just 2 episodes left. I feel like you could have compressed a lot of 2 and 3 maybe. But then I don't, we could watch the next 2 episodes and I could be like, oh no, yeah, we got enough with that. So who knows? I know we still have the whole origin episode because they've cast actors as Mark Spector's parents. So
really?
You have to see them at some point, and they're not older than Oscar Isaac, so it's definitely flashback. Yeah, man, you just got to be stalking that IMDb and Wikipedia page all the time. Very, yeah.
So I mean, I really did like this episode. I guess we're at the end, right? I guess. If any of you have anything else to say about the institution or our wonderful hippopotamus goddess. Wait, Laura, you said she mostly is a protector of women, right?
Women, children, and childbirth.
Huh. So I do wonder how she'll play into this, right?
I'm kind of thinking, is Layla pregnant?
Oh,
I see. I was going to say she's going to help them.
But then it's like
give birth to the third personality.
That's
he's in that
but I feel like the third personality is stuck in that sarcophagus. Yeah, but like she's supposed to be for childbirth, and maybe I have no idea, because Amit is like, the goddess of like killing people before they do the bad things. I don't know what the word for it is, but yeah, like because she's like the I'm just gonna call her hippo goddess, because I can't say Tarawit like without she's not in the comics. There's no mention of her in the comics. There's no mention.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I'm kind of curious of how. I mean, a lot of things aren't like in the comics aren't in the series, but it's just like it makes me curious of how she's going to play into this. And when I think of like her, she's the like childbirth and pregnancy and women and children. It just makes me think like, okay, the only woman is Layla and Amit, but Amit, is a goddess. So. But yeah, like it just made me think like, oh, maybe that's affected. But if I have to say, if Layla's was pregnant and she's like fighting like that, that props to her. I swear to God.
It's a very fair point. All right, now that we're at the end, favorite scene, Justin?
Oh wow. Favorite scene, mummy with no arm stabbing with bone repeatedly. She dodged that real quick, like, wow, okay.
Wait, Justin, I do want to tell you, earlier when you said this, I was like, oh, right, that wasn't a knife. I thought the mummy somehow had a knife in its head. She was good at dodging that. What was your favorite scene, Laura?
I think the same as you. The one Oscar Isaac punched himself in the face. Also, when he fell down, when he first appeared, Stephen, when he first appeared, he fell down and he first appeared into the tomb. Like I love the comedy aspect of it. Like because like it's such a serious show, and like I love it having any type of humor. Because like I was just like, okay, this is like I really have to fight hard to really like get into this. Like and I feel like the comedy really helped a lot. When he goes, it's gorgeous, and she goes, oh, thank you, and he's like talking about the tomb,
Right.
and anything really with his scenes that it's just it brought some like levity to the episode.
Yeah, I agree with that. Brett.
I really liked I'll say the initial mummy attack when Layla's like on the ground and the mummy's like dissecting that dude and she's trying not to spook him. That entire sequence is great. Real creepy.
Yeah, it's really well done. I think my favorite is her on the ledge, the way that's shot with the mummy like grasping at her face and pulling her into the shadows, and how we get the second of her like reaching out and getting pulled back in. I really love that. But then a close runner-up is Mark and Steven hugging when they're reunited. I really loved that. What grade do we give this episode, Laura?
I think this is like maybe my another favorite of mine, just because the chaos. Once I embrace the chaos, I think a B.
Okay, all right. Brett.
B plus.
Okay, Justin.
I'm going to give this episode of the Oscar Isaac Magic Sex Hour a B plus.
See, I've been giving the show a B for every episode, but this one I actually do give an A, because I did embrace as Laura's been saying, I embraced the chaos, and I just was like, this is great. I love this chaos. And this was one of the first episodes since it's only episode 4, but 2 and 3, I very much, in our recordings, I felt like I was like struggling to find new things to say. Because it felt like episodes 1 through 3 could have been pushed into one episode almost. And this episode felt like, oh, I have like new things to say. There's like different things going on. I love a like tomb heist. I was very charmed by all of it. So yeah, I give it an A. Brett, Justin, and Laura, thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for listening. This was, I think, of episodes of the podcast, I think this is only the second one I've ever done without a co-host. So look at us.
It's fun.
If you liked Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can subscribe to our Patreon. We're going through Harley Quinn Season 2 and What If Season 1 currently. And the support is much appreciated. We just started a new Discord server, where all the guests also are invited to join. So I will send it to all 3 of you if any of you are interested. And if you want to follow us on social, we are at SlayerFestX98. I am at Ian X Carlos on social media. Laura, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter at L Sirikul, Lsirikul. I write for a whole bunch of different places like Nerd to Color, IGN, Nerdist, and The Geek, and a few other places. So you can find my work there. And
Justin, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Justin CENTRIC, Justin Centric, or my website, justinpossible.com.
And Brett, where can everyone find you?
That's at Brett White on Twitter and Instagram, and you can read my Moon Knight coverage on Decider, as well as The Ultimatum and Love is Blind, and a whole bunch of other garbage Netflix reality shows.
Tweeting Brett, I don't know how you are always writing a piece. I feel like you write like 10 a day, and I have learned about many a reality show from tweeting your articles.
God, yeah, they're bad.
Nothing wrong with it. I have plenty of friends that love reality shows.
I don't love them.
You almost sold me on The Ultimatum, and I never watch reality shows.
No, you should watch that. It's awful.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for listening, and thank you all for joining me. We will see you. Well, I won't be here, but Ashley K. Smalls and Stephanie Williams will be co-hosting episode 5, and then I will be back for episode 6. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.